Hi everyone, this is Attorney Lilian with Lily Legal, and I am here today with your immigration chat, where we are going to be talking about immigration topics. So if you have any questions on an immigration topic, please feel free to put them in the comments. And as always, I will answer your questions. Even if you are watching this on the replay and you have questions about immigration, please feel free to put them in the comments because I will be responding to you as well. So today we are going to be specifically going over the questions that I get all the time. So these are questions that are either on a video that I did, or it was asked live and I just want to highlight it, or it was a question that was DM'd to me. So again, these are comments. I am responding to your questions that you put in the comments of my videos or that you DM'd me. So as always, if you're watching, please put your questions in the comments. And the first thing I'm going to, I guess, answer is who I am, because that seems to be a question that people have that always comes up, is who I am, what I do, and why I do what I do, right? Why am I an immigration lawyer? Why am I here on Fridays doing these chats? So first off, I am Lilian Chinanyangwa Chukura. I am an immigration lawyer. I am based in Worcester, Massachusetts, but I get to help people all over the US and all over the world get US immigration status for themselves and for their families. And I guess, why do I do this? Because I love it. Okay, that's the simplest answer, is because I love it. I came here, I came to the US as an immigrant. I was not born here. I was born in Nigeria, and I lived there most of my life, well, up until 11. And then I moved to the US, and I've lived in the US since then. But I understand the struggles of being separated from family members. I understand the struggle of not having status. So for that reason, it made me decide that this was exactly where I needed to be, and what I wanted to do with my life is helping people reunify with their families by getting their family status, and to also get status for themselves so that they can go and visit their family if they wanted to. So that's something that really drives me to keep doing what I'm doing. And these chats that we do, I do this because I want you to have the right information. I find that in my practice, people that have the most issues in their case are people that don't have the right information. Right. For example, if you have a diversity lottery visa and you didn't put your family members on your visa application, and now you're in the US, you have a green card and you want to file for them, that's a big issue that you can get into. So when it comes to those things, that's why I want to do these lives. That's why we do this chat, so that you can ask me your questions and you can get correct information and not have to constantly deal with immigration disappointments because you didn't have correct information. So that's why I'm here. That's what I do. And that's why we are here on this chat. Now, I'm going to get into the first question, which is which I received on YouTube. As always, if you're just joining me, you can ask me your questions. I'm going to be going over the questions I've received on my videos and answering them live, because I figure that if the person that's asking the question has this question, that someone else in the comments, someone else watching might also have this same question. So I want to make sure that we are all on the same page and getting answers to our questions. Okay, so the first one is, should my non-resident spouse need to ask for his ITIN first, or should I submit my tax return with the W-7 form at the same time? So this person is specifically This question is specifically from the video I did on filing taxes jointly with your spouse, how to do that, how to get an ITIN, and all of that. So this question is specifically in regards to that video. The answer to it is, when you are filing for an ITIN application has to go with your tax return. So if you're filing jointly with your spouse and they don't have a social security number, or they don't already have a tax ID number, you would need to then file, while you're filing jointly, you would also have to file the application for the ITIN. So it's not a separate application that you file, wait for the ITIN to come in, and then you file your taxes jointly. This is an application that has to go with a tax return. So just know that if you are in the situation where your spouse is in the US and they don't have status, and you want to file taxes together, you can. You just have to make sure that your spouse is also applying for an ITIN, which is a tax identification number that is specific for filing your tax returns. It does not give you any rights outside of that. It is not a social security number, but it does give you the ability to file taxes jointly. Okay. So the next question is also about the ITIN, which is, me and my spouse didn't know they didn't know about the ITIN, and they want to file together. However, it's going to take 10 weeks. They're not sure what exactly they can do as far as filing jointly, especially when the tax deadline was approaching. So that's what this question is specifically about. Is it important to file it? How do I file it before the tax deadline? Like I said previously, when you're filing an ITIN, you're filing it with your tax return. So you just have to file it together during the tax season. Okay, you don't have to wait for the ITIN to be approved, which will go beyond the tax season, before you can file your tax returns. You're required to file it at the same time. So you'll still meet the tax deadline as long as you file before April 15, or if there's an extension, before that extension expires. Okay. So the next question is about misrepresentation. Okay. So it goes, my husband got a green card through his previous marriage. They divorced before he could remove the conditions, and they had denied him because they said he misrepresented himself, and that the letter he turned in looks like he wrote it himself. So basically, USCIS is saying that this person misrepresented information to them, that they sent in a letter in response to their to his case, saying that it was from his spouse, but really he wrote it himself. Again, this is what USCIS is alleging. It doesn't mean that it is true. Now, the question is, the person is currently waiting for an interview for the Liberian Green Card program. Is it possible for him to be denied? And the short answer to this question is, it depends. It's always possible that someone could get denied based on misrepresentation, especially if they did actually misrepresent. However, there is waivers available if they have a qualifying relative. I can tell you that I had a similar situation, not with a removal of condition, but I had a client that filed for a green card through marriage. That application was denied. He comes to me for the Liberian Green Card Act, and we were able to get him approved, even though USCIS was trying to say that he needed a waiver and that he misrepresented information. The issue most people have is they don't respond when USCIS says that there's misrepresentation. And not responding is really harmful to your case. If you don't respond, then what USCIS says is what goes, right? So what we did in that situation is we responded with a new letter from the spouse, that's notarized, showing that, you know, their marriage was real, that they wrote the previous letter, all these things. So it's possible to still get approved even while you are accused of misrepresentation. In this situation, you know, in this particular situation, USCIS may approve it um, if he can show that the previous marriage was real and that the letter was not written by him, but it was written by the right person. Okay, but again, it will always come up. That's the thing. If USCIS has denied your case before based on misrepresentation or any of those marriage fraud, for example, it will always come up when you, even if you remarry and your new spouse is filing for you, that previous application that was denied based on misrepresentation or fraud will always come back up. So it's really important that you respond with your strongest argument, your strongest documentation, where when USCIS alleges that there was fraud or misrepresentation in your case. Okay. So the next question is, let's see. So this is more of a comment than a question. It's about the citizenship test. This person says that they are nervous. And they think it's normal feeling to be nervous, and it is a normal feeling to be nervous about the test. They have been studying very hard for their civics writing and reading. Now they're trying to learn some definitions, and they hope that they don't get asked you know, serious questions, because that will make her nervous. And that is something that everyone struggles with. Okay, when you're studying for the test, everyone is nervous. Everyone walks in there just like, please give me the easiest questions out of the 100 questions. Like, there's 100 questions that most people have to study for, and you might only be asked like 10 questions. Okay, and the thing is, you don't know which of the 100 questions you're going to be asked. So that usually gives people that's usually stresses people out and makes you nervous when you're going through the citizenship process, to know that you have to take this test and you don't know what they're going to have you read, you don't know what they're going to have you write, and you don't know which questions out of the 100 questions they're actually going to ask you. So it is really nerve-wracking, and I understand it. I feel for you. I remember helping my mom study for the test, and we actually were able to get a CD with the 100 questions, and she just played it in the car while she's running errands, and that really helped her to go ahead and be able to pass the civics part of the test the first time around. So that's something that you might want to consider, is figuring out the best way that you learn new information. If it's reading it, if it's hearing someone else say it back to you, um, those are what I would suggest. USCIS also has an app that will just ask you questions. And you can keep going back, and it'll ask you different questions that are out of the 100 questions. So those are the different ways that I suggest you think about the studying for the civics part. The reading and writing, if that's not your strong suit, I strongly suggest taking an ESL class, English as a second language class, just to help you sharpen up your reading and writing, so that when you're at the test, you'll be able to ace it. But for the civics part, you have resources available to you. You have the CDs, or you can download the audio. Now, I'm not sure if they still sending the CDs out, but you can definitely download the audio. You can look at the flashcards. And there's also an app that you can download that will ask you random questions out of the 100, and you can basically be practicing for the civics part of the test. Okay. Now we have a question in the comments, so I'm going to answer that before I get back to the previously asked questions. Again, if you are just joining us, I'm going through the questions that people put in the comments of my previous videos and answering those, because someone out there might have the same questions and might not have seen the comments or my response to that comment. So I want to make sure that I cover as many of those questions as possible. And as always, feel free to ask me your questions in the comments. If you're watching on the replay, go ahead and ask your questions in the comments, and I will be responding to you. And I might do another video like this, answering more questions if I get a lot of those questions. Okay, so Martin is asking how long does it usually take to file for a sister or brother in Africa and over the age of 21 or older? What's the length of time from start to end? Okay, so this is a question I get all the time. Everyone wants to file for their siblings, and I typically encourage you to do it regardless of how long the time is. I'm going to answer your question, but I want to make that very clear that I usually recommend, if you're a US citizen and you're able to file for your siblings, it will take some time. The last I checked, which was a couple weeks ago, they are processing cases from 2007. Okay, so that should give you an idea of the timeline of how long it might take before they get to your case if you file today. So if you filed your case in 2007, the chances of you of your case moving forward and interviewed this year or next year is very good. If you filed after that, you just have to wait for your number to come up. But again, there's only a certain number of visas available for brothers and sisters every single year, and once they give out that many visas, they stop, right, until the next year. So that's really why it takes so long for brothers and sisters. So again, if you're filing for your siblings and you're filing today, you just have to look at the fact that they are processing cases from 2007, not 2017, 2007. So it is going to take some time, but I'll tell you what I tell everyone that asks me this question. Yes, it's going to take at least 10, 12 years before a visa becomes available, unless something changes and the numbers increase. That's what you're looking at. However, if your sibling has no other routes to get permanent residency in the US, I would still suggest filing for them. It does not matter how old your sibling is for you to file for them. It does not matter if they are married or not. If they have children or not, it doesn't really matter. As long as they're your siblings, you can file for them. Once a visa becomes available, like I said, it can be 12 years from now, right? Once a visa becomes available, not only can they get a green card to the US, their spouse can get a green card to the US. If they still have children under the age of 21, their children can get a green card to the US. And then once they come to the US, if they have children that are that have aged out, they will be able to file as a green card holder for those children. So it's a way that, yes, it's going to take time, but the benefits sometimes outweigh the time that you're waiting. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the questions. All right. So these questions, this set of questions is about stepchildren and step parents filing for each other. So the question goes, my mom and my stepdad got married when I was 12 years old. My question is, can my stepdad petition me even if I'm already 25 years old now? And the answer to this question is simple. It's yes. Yes, yes, yes. So because the marriage took place before he turned 12, right? So basically, for a step parent stepchild relationship to be created, the marriage has to take place before the child turns 18. So because he's already met this requirement, he is always going to be considered the stepchild of that person. Okay. He's always going to be the stepchild of his stepdad. Even if, and this is true, even if he gets, the parents divorce, he's still considered the stepchild as long as they maintain a relationship. So as long as he and his stepdad maintain a relationship, the stepdad can still file for him as his stepchild. So this is very important, and I'm so glad that the person asked this question, because I feel like other people might have the same issue or have the same question. When is the cutoff for that? The only timing issue there is that the marriage has to take place before the child turns 18. After that, the stepchild step parent relationship is there. You just have to show that you have continued to maintain a relationship. And in that situation, you're treated just like a child of a US citizen that's over 21. So the application process will be the same. You're just checking off that it's a stepchild, step parent relationship, but the application process will still be the same. You are the child of a U.S. citizen that happens to be over 21. So I hope that answers that question. Again, if you are just joining us, welcome. And please put your questions in the comments if you have any. If you find this helpful, please feel free to share. Like, if you're watching in a place where you can subscribe, like YouTube, go ahead and subscribe so that you can see every time I go live. And you can also get some of my bonus videos that I put on there. Now, next question, also about stepchild step parent relationship. It goes, I live in Washington State, and my wife is from the Philippines. We were married on April of 2019. My wife has a stepdaughter. Oh, my wife has a daughter still living in the Philippines who is 16. Okay, she's 16. They got married in 2019, which means she was under 18 when they got married. We want to sponsor her to come here to live with us. Is my wife the one who should fill out the form, or me? My wife is not a U.S. citizen, but does have a green card. I am a U.S. citizen. It seems to me my wife should be the one to fill out the form. Is this correct? So the answer to this is either of you can file for her, right? The U.S. citizen can file for her as the stepdaughter of a U.S. citizen, which would make her an immediate relative of a U.S. citizen, which would give her priority over everyone else. Or the mother that's a green card holder can file for her as the under 21 child of a green card holder. So there's multiple options available to this couple. It's just a matter of which option they choose. It's not really, there's no limitation on them for um, who's going to file for her. It's really just up to them who wants to do that. There might be some benefits to having the U.S. citizen file because of, like I said, she'll be considered an immediate relative of a U.S. citizen. And if you've been watching my videos, immediate relatives of U.S. citizens get special treatment when it comes to visas being available to them. Okay. So that's the thing on that. The part where he says, it seems to me my wife should be the one filling out the forms. Again, it might seem that way to you, but the way the law is set up is whoever is able to, whoever meets the requirements can file for her. It's just a matter of what the parties feel is best for them. Now, this is a question again about step children. Can I apply for a U.S. passport for my stepdaughter outside the U.S.? So this is a loaded question, and I told the person as much because only U.S. citizens can apply for a U.S. passport. Period. Right? There's no Like, there's nothing else to say on that. Only U.S. citizens. So if the stepchild is a U.S. citizen, then yes, they can apply for a U.S. passport at a U.S. consulate or embassy. If the child is not a US citizen and doesn't have any immigration status in the US, that's going to limit what she's able to do, right? They can file for her to get a green card through the stepchild step parent relationship, or the parent that's a green card holder can file for the child. But again, to get a passport, to get a US passport outside of the US, you have to be a US citizen. So if you are in this situation and you have a stepchild that's outside of the US and they don't already have status, you're really trying to figure out how to file for the stepchild to get a green card, because most people that are not born US citizens will need to apply for a green card before they can apply for citizenship. Okay, so that is really the answer to that question. Is it depends if she's already a US citizen. If she's not, you have to go through the immigration process of filing for her to get a green card, come to the US, and then apply for citizenship. Okay. So, what happens when the child is 18 before the marriage? While the mother has a green card, can she file for her 19-year-old child? Okay. So, if the child is already 18 before the marriage takes place, the child is no longer considered a stepchild for immigration purposes. Again, they're still your stepchild, but USCIS will not consider them a stepchild that will get immigration benefits from you. If the mother has a green card and the child is still under 21 and unmarried, the mother can go ahead and file for the child. Even if the child is over 21, as long as they are not married, the mother that has a green card can still file for the daughter. So that's really the trick here, is if you are a green card holder filing for a child, you have to make sure that the child is not married and the child does not get married before you become a US citizen, if their case is still pending, right? That's the really tricky part, and the part where people really want to argue with me on. I'm like, it's the law. A green card holder can only file for a child that's unmarried. So once you're still a green card holder and the case is still pending, if the child gets married, the child no longer qualifies. You have to wait till you're a citizen and start the process of filing for the child all over again. So that's my recommendation to everyone. If you are not, if you are under the age of 21 and could be considered an immediate relative of a US citizen, or you're under 21 and the child of a permanent resident, getting married makes you no longer qualify as a child in both of those situations. So you're no longer an immediate relative of a US citizen, even though you're under 21, because you're married. Okay, marriage takes you out of that immediate relative category. Also, if your parent that's filing for you is a green card holder and you get married before you get your green card or before they become a citizen, you no longer qualify. So it is really important that you pay attention to that, and that before you decide to get married, if you have a application pending, that you know exactly what the ramifications of you getting married while your application is pending are before you do anything. So the last few questions are about green cards in general. As a green card holder for 10 years, how fast is it to file in for my mother and daughter? So this question I wanted to cover because I believe I answered it on the live, but I was also wanted to cover it here because I want people to understand, again, what green card holders can do versus US citizens. So a green card holder can file for a child that's unmarried, whether they're under 21 or over 21. The only difference that their age will make is how long it will take for a visa to become available. A green card holder can also file for their spouse, and that's it. Unmarried children and spouse. Those are the only two category of people that a green card holder can file for. A US citizen can file for their spouse, their children, whether they're married, unmarried, over 21, under 21, doesn't matter. A US citizen can file for their children. A US citizen can file for a fiance. A US citizen can file for their siblings, right? You see the trend here? A US citizen can file for their parents. But a green card holder cannot file for a parent. So the person has to wait till they become a citizen in order for them to be able to file for their parent to get status in the US. And then finally, I am a Liberian outside the US. How can I obtain a green card? So I believe I did a whole video on get how different ways to get a green card, different options. I believe it was a Tuesday tips, but let's go over them again. So in order to get status in the US, you need to have an immigrant visa if you're coming into the US. In order to get a green card. So that can either be through a family member, through employment, or through your own personal qualifications, or if you have refugee status or if you're applying for asylum, right? There's all those other options, but the main three are family, employment, self-application. And part of that self-application is that you are exceptional. So one of the categories is that you are exceptional in your field, whether it's science, technology, sports. Actresses and actors and musicians are able to get this if they can show that they are exceptional in their field. And that doesn't mean that you think you're exceptional, but that your peers and, you are critically shown as someone that has that is exceptional in their field. So the other way to get it is if you are part of a treaty program, which Liberia happens to be. So which I'm going to do a whole video on the treaty between the US and Liberia when it comes to being able to apply for status in the US. I'm going to do a whole separate video on that because I want us to really dive deep and talk about it. But yes, if you fall into either trade with the US or you are making a significant investment into the US, significant investment depends on what that business or thing you're investing in is. But again, we're going to do a whole thing on what that actually means and how you can get status through that treaty between the US and Liberia. The other options is family, like I said, spouse, children, parents, or and siblings. Siblings is going to take the longest if you're married and you have US citizen parents and their parents are filing for you. That's going to take the longest. If you're unmarried, under 21, those are going to be quicker. But those are the family options available to you. As far as the business option, so if you have a job offer from the US, if you have an employer that's willing to file for you to get status in the US, to have you come here and work for their company permanently, that's an option that you can explore and use to also come and stay and live in the US and get a green card. So those are really the three major options available to people. And if you want to explore any of those options, feel free to give me a call. And like I said, we'll be doing more videos on the different options and how you can qualify for it, especially for my Liberians that watch. There is a specific visa options available for Liberia based on a treaty that they have with the US. So we can again go through that in an upcoming video. So stay tuned for that. So that is all the questions I have pulled up. If you have any questions, please feel free to put it in the comments. As always, I am happy to respond to you. If you're watching on the replay, you know what to do. Put your questions in the comments, and I will be responding as well. And those are all the immigration related questions that I want to answer for you today. And then I'm just going to answer a couple questions that I get a lot. And I want to make sure that I am answering that for anyone that wants to, that has the same question. So the first question is, how do I get in contact with you if I want you to handle a case for me? So the first step is always a phone call or visiting my website. All my contacts are either on the screen or in the description of every single video. So feel free to use that to contact me. The first thing that typically happens when you call my office is that you'll need to schedule a consultation with me. Once you schedule that consultation, I will get information from you about your particular situation. We'll go through them and see what options are available to you, what the next steps you should be taking in your case are. And then from there, we will come up with a plan. And basically, if you decide to hire me to help you execute those plans, we'll get started executing the plan that we came up with together. Okay. And then, like I said, that's the first step. It's just a conversation between me and you, looking at your case, figuring out what options are available and what the next steps needs to be. And to get in contact, as always, screen, description box is the best ways to get a hold of me. And what should you expect from the consultation? Like I said, the consultation is me basically going through your immigration history, figuring out what options you have available. If there's any specific issues going on in your case, how best I can help you resolve the issues. My motto when it comes to the consultation is that I will always be honest with you. If I think there are issues with your case, if I think there are problems that we need to discuss further, or things that we need to that you need to be aware of that could potentially negatively impact your case, I tell you upfront. I don't hold back. My goal, as always, with these lives, with everything I do when it comes to representing my clients and talking about immigration law, is honesty and giving you the best information that will help you in your immigration journey. So those are all I have for today. If you have questions, put them in the comments. If you found this video helpful, please go ahead and like, share, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, come on, what are you doing? Go ahead and subscribe. The information is in the description. And I do post some bonus information on YouTube, so feel free to join me there. And as always, I will see you next week, Friday, with some additional immigration chat. And if you are in the US and you're celebrating, it is 4th of July weekend. So happy Independence Day to the US. And I will see you next week. All right, everyone. Bye for now.